And Tina, do you have a question?
No, I have no question.
I was going to say, everything they said, and one of the things that I like to do is if somebody reaches out, you start recognizing people reaching out to you through the website, I like to take that extra step in time and connect with them on the different social media platforms. Okay, and it's pretty easy to do. Just search their name. If you see their handle, go to their website. They have their platforms listed, and I start the digital dance there. And I found that I have more meaningful relationships doing that than just having somebody on my email newsletter. That's what works for us.
Did you have anything, Joe? Okay, questions for the panel. I have okay. I have other ones too. We'll address, but Gretchen, what do you got?
So, I'm in a firm where, obviously my husband is one partner, and we have another partner that, Chris is all gung ho, let's do this, and then we have another partner where the thought of putting a camera in front of his face, like he completely freaks out. So, is it bad then, you go to our website, you see 2 attorneys there, but on all of the videos, all of the everything, it's his face.
We have an attorney who does not even want his photo on the website at all. Like you can't.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's no.
So do we just plow gung ho and, Chris, let's do
Yes.
this?
Yes.
Or do we try and drag
No,
people along?
don't force it.
So microphone, please. Use the mic.
So, for the attorney that does not want to be on video, have him or her maybe start doing a podcast, an audio, or maybe have that lawyer start writing blog posts. And the attorney that wants to be on video, he or she can emphasize that particular platform. And so you're collaborating together.
Yeah.
You can actually bounce back and forth and say, next Monday morning, a new blog post is coming out that will take what we're talking about on this video to the next step. So that's a good way to embrace each other's talents.
I'll take a more draconian approach, which is that if somebody doesn't want to do it, they're not going to do it. Leave them alone. Let them bill the hours. They can put in the extra hours on the client stuff, and you be the face of the firm. It's how I built my firm. I'm a big believer that round peg, square hole, don't do it.
I was wondering what Mo thought about this because I've never heard or seen Martinson or Beeson on any social media. So, did you get the question, Mo?
Yeah.
So the question was, Chris has one partner. Chris likes to do all the social media. The partner doesn't like to do any social media. And Annika has somebody at their firm who doesn't even want the picture on the website. How did you go about talking to the people in your firm about doing everything that you're doing?
Yeah, so we just kind of, we sat down and we would talk about, what direction we want to head and what you want to do. And if everybody's on the same page with the concept, what fits one person may not fit another one. If you're comfortable with doing this, are you comfortable with sharing that? And I think people, you're just humanizing yourself in doing. But maybe the person that's not comfortable with shooting the videos has another passion that they can share. Maybe there's photos or something that they're doing, or there's a blog post that talks about what they're doing that you're sharing on social. There may be other avenues or ways of sharing that. But I think, if you've got these huge firms, you see. They're not every lawyer that's in the firm. You're not seeing on the face. You're seeing the keynote person or the spokesman for the firm. So I think it's just different channels for different people on different channels.
Yeah, I have a question I want to ask. Hey, so part of our mastermind, I just did a checking on Tyson's Google My Business page. Has 230 reviews, and as soon as I called him out, he had beaten Jim. Gary brings up he's got 238 or something like that.
What? 343.
I'm like, so anyway, Tyson promised that he was going to share his secret sauce for getting 200 and whatever it is. 30 reviews. So I'm going to call you out on that. I want to hear the answer to that.
Okay. It's stupid simple, and then we're going to ask Gary Berger how he's doing his too, because he's now at 343. So I pissed him off apparently. Actually, let me tell the story first, and then I'll get to how I did it. So was it last Thursday, Gary? You and I? Okay, last Thursday, I couldn't wait to tell Gary Berger that I had more reviews than him. He was at 187, and he was on our list. Yeah, we were watching the reviews climb and climb and climb. We got to 5th and 4th, and 3rd and 2nd, and it was Gary and everyone else. It was a huge gap. So to get to Gary was just crazy. And then, so I get to 230, and he's at 187. We're way past him. So I'm thinking, there's no way he's going to catch up with me now. And 8 minutes into the phone call, and I said, hey, Gary,
I didn't know he was ahead of me. I hadn't looked for a long
Yeah,
time.
I said, have you looked at the reviews? Like, how many you're up to? And you knew exactly, you said 187, you knew. I was like, man, I'm at 230. And you should have heard, it was so funny, so funny. So it motivated him, and now he's at 343, which is insane. Here's how we did it. We just had a meeting with staff. We were setting our 12-week goals, and I said I want to do 100 in the next 12 weeks, 100 more. So that would have put us at 168. And one of our employees says, I can get 100 by Sunday. And I said, no way. And I said, I will pay each employee $1,000 for every 100 reviews you get. That's what I did. They had to be legitimate reviews. You can't go and get fake reviews. They had to actually do it. And so they hustled. And one of them got 100. And I actually paid for that. Gave her $1,000 and paid for her flight down to see her parents or grandparents. And so over the next 12 weeks, they all have that goal to hit 100 reviews. It was super simple. Now, some of you may think that is unethical. I'm open to listening to your arguments. However, these are legitimate reviews. These are not fake reviews. Josh.
How did you do that again? What was the incentive?
Oh, we incentivized them to give them $1,000. We gave them $1,000 for every 100 reviews they get.
$1,000 for every 100 reviews.
Yep.
Are they former clients?
The people that are familiar with the firm, former clients, things like that.
Yeah, well, but hold on, there's more to this story. So we originally put this out there, and the goal was to get the firm to 100, and boy, is just off the charts. They always have been. But the first firm to 100 would win, right? And somehow Jim had like 18 reviews, and we said, there's no way. And he says, no, I'm going to do this. So it turns out, how many did he get, like 120 or something?
100 in 2 days.
So he got over 100 in 2 days, and now I'm going to put you on the spot, so can you share with us how you did that?
Yeah, so I use Infusionsoft. I have a list of champions, people that have a special tag, people who know, like, and trust us and advocate the crap out of us, and I'd recognize them on the street. They market for us, and that list is like 200 people, and I sent them all an email. I said, hey, I'm in this contest. John Fisher's running it. The first one to get to 100 reviews gets to go to his mastermind for free, and in 48 hours, I had the 100 more reviews.
And so I tried to do the same thing, and I got 2.
Hey, guys, I'd also just, word of caution, Google isn't stupid. Spikes are not a good thing.
Yeah.
You really don't want them. A member of the mastermind said, I'm going to go and review all the lawyers in the mastermind. All those reviews are gone. When you do stuff that has a pattern, Google is really focused on this right now. They've just announced, like Inside Baseball, that they don't want to see gateway pages. So anybody, a lot of the Podium Birdseye, they will do something where they would put up were you happy with the service? Yes, no, and then only send you to the Google review. And that Google has made it clear that they don't want that. Now, if they claim they're going to be crawling sites, are they crawling and penalizing you today? Probably not, but it is something that, like, yes, reviews are amazing, you need them, you want your numbers up, you want 5-star, I get all that. Just be very careful about anything that's a pattern, and that right now, in the last 2 weeks, Google is focused on this, and that things, if there are reviews up there, making sure that they're not just somebody who is at a street fair that likes you, that they're looking for some sort of connection to using the firm.
So will get5stars.com not work anymore?
I believe the word on the street is Blumenthal is going to change it so that it's not going to have that gateway anymore.
Yeah, they have already changed it. I got an email from them, and now it's pretty much identical, whether, they think you're good or not. So they're going to send you pretty much the same way.
Which means that if you're putting a list together, of who to send them out to, you might want to take an extra step to make sure that you're not dumping a list, because that screen for many of the third parties is disappearing.
So, but could you still would the process then to still do a net promoter score the way Get5Stars does, but question to your former clients, and then for the 9s and 10s say, hey, by the way, go give us a review? Like, I don't know why that would trigger anything to Google.
If Google is right now crawling sites, they claim, in order to see if you're doing any sort of gateway. again, the devious mind starts thinking about, do you have a third-party site that you create and then go back? But if it's on your site or on on one of these Get 5 Stars, you can see it's strong enough that Get 5 Stars, which is tied closely to the inside scoop at Google, is removing it. It's obviously something serious.
Can you explain what you mean by gateway there?
Sure.
I want the microphone.
Sure. The idea is if there's a preview question, instead of just saying, can you review me on Google, you're saying, how many stars do you give me? 5 stars, great, you pass me through. Sorry.
Are you sure? So there's more than one way to skin a cat, right?
Mitch doesn't have but 2 reviews on his site, and he kicks butt. Right?
I have no idea.
You have 2, and you only got 3 stars, because you got 1 good one and 1 bad one.
So what I was going to say is I can't even remember the last time we checked any of these Google products, okay? What we do for reviews, when you go to our Scorpion website, and I'm a brand ambassador for Scorpion, is you will see dozens and dozens and dozens of reviews. When we settle a case with a client, we send out the next day a survey letter. It's a 1-page survey, 8 questions, and a request for testimonial. And the letter also explains why that testimonial is so important. People are afraid to reach out and ask us a question. We don't bite. We like to help people, and people respond to testimonials. We have about a 100% response rate when we approach obtaining testimonials that way. We then have the testimonial in our hand, and we take that testimonial and we own it now, and we can share it on our website, our blog, we can share it on all our social media platforms, and we can repurpose that testimonial over and over and over again. The only reason I'm bringing this up is, for me, it's a quality and not a quantity thing. And for those of you that haven't invested your time, like us, on the Google platforms, you can still survive. Okay, I mean, it would be great to incorporate everything you guys are doing into what we're doing, and I think we will, but we haven't, and things are working out just fine. So just keep smiling and understand there's more than one way to accomplish all of these goals. You just have to use the method that you're comfortable with doing.
Gary, you are not getting off of this. You are gonna talk about how you got your reviews.
I did it, I've done it different ways for a while. I do CLEs, and then I'll review someone, and then they'll review me. I noticed, though, that Google started throttling those, as you mentioned before, Seth. I do them, I've asked clients for them if they like me, and I have a Google spreadsheet where I have the person, I have whether they reviewed me and which site they reviewed me on, because I have 2 other geographical locations, so the reviews only are tied to 1 geographical location. You need to think about that and worry about that. But I also did, but I had Tyson snuck up, and I thought I was had the most in the area, so I kind of slugged on it, and then Tyson worked this into a conversation, and I was laughing so hard, so I decided I gave my staff an incentive, very similar. I paid $50 a review. And they went, which is less than you, I think, right?
$10 a review.
Anyway, it's worth it. Look, if I am, the way I think of it, and I don't know what you, and look, my staff is great, and if I'm going to bonus them at the end of the year, why not bonus them for something like this? I've looked into the ethics of it. I know what that is. I got, anyway, it's Rule 7.2C. That you can't go out and ask, you cannot go pay for someone to recommend your services. So you've got to be careful if you're doing a promo to get a baseball ticket or anything like that. You can't go do that. You got to be careful about that. But if I'm on the first or second page of Google, or if I'm doing PPC, and if they see my firm, if I have 10 times more reviews than the other guy, who are they going to call? So I think it's a great, and I think it's a no-brainer investment personally. So that's what I did, and I wanted to beat Tyson. We were he threatened me. He challenged me, not threatened me. He challenged me. So anyway, and I could talk more, but I don't want to steal the brilliant panel up here.
I think you slipped that you're feeling threatened. I think that's what it is. Right?
Just in height. Just in height.
Yeah. Listen, I'm the shortest guy here. You can't. All right. So questions. Any other questions? Just any other questions? I've got a bunch here, but
I have one. When you're getting your reviews, when you're getting your reviews and you're asking for them, I always thought it was better for your client to go directly to one of the sites like Google or Facebook or whatever. And it sounds like some of y'all are actually getting them and then using them on your website and then putting it on your social media like Mitch. So I'm wondering, doesn't Google kind of discount that compared to, in other words, if I get everybody, my clients, while they're there, to do it right there from my office, I'm using the same IP address the whole time.
No.
It's bad. So how do you, so I'm assuming when you get the reviews, are you just saying, hey, you're giving them links to different platforms that you want them to go to, or do you just pick Google only, or do you do Facebook or LinkedIn, or I know Yelp's horrible apparently.
I mean,
to get on.
bunch of questions there, and we have one expert. Annika does a
Yes.
really good job with this.
Okay.
I saw you raise your hand.
So in our office, when somebody comes in to finalize their case, they're given a paper survey. It's the questions, I think there's maybe 5 or 6 of them. They're worded in such a way that the answers will yield a great review, right? And there's like 5 or 6 different lines. At the bottom of the survey, do you mind if we use your wording on our website? Everybody says yes. If it's 5 stars, whatever. We leave them alone, we fill out the survey. I go and afterwards, I look at the survey and I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your kind words. This is so nice of you. I see that you said yes. Would you mind putting this online? They're like, no, of course, go ahead. I'm like, well, I could send you a link, which is kind of a pain in the ass, or if you want to get out your cell phone right now, I'd be happy to just type it right in for you. It'll be quick and easy, painless. 9 times out of 10, they say fine. I make sure that they're not connected to our Wi-Fi. We'll do it on Facebook, we'll do it on Google, but I use a different review. So like the wording is always different, but it's easy, it's fast, people don't mind doing it, and then you don't have to bug them later, and that's kind of how we've been able to get so many.
That's great.
I have a question. I really want to. I have had, this is like the most devastating thing that has happened to me, and it's been over the last 6 months. Since I've started, I've had like 30 reviews deleted. 5-star reviews. It's been like kind of devastating. Have you seen that? I know the throttling, I mean, these were legitimate. They weren't at the same IP address. I have Googled, read all kinds of articles. Have you actually seen that? I feel like personally attacked, obviously. I'm trying to figure out if it's the algorithm or what the heck is happening.
So Tina's questions about lost reviews, they're legitimate reviews, but they're lost. Google does have a criteria. Did you respond to the reviews?
Yes,
Okay.
I did. All unique responses, I did.
I mean, that's Google reviews.
Have you seen that?
Reviews disappearing from Google is not abnormal. Over the years, I've seen them come and go. We generally keep track of everything that comes in, so that if some disappear and they're legit, we can go back to the source and try to get them replicated. But again, we were in a mastermind, and one of the guys there said, "I'm going to create this scheme, and we should all do it." And next thing you know, everything he did was out. So I don't know what, something sounds like it was triggered in your world.
Do you think that would have been a human, because these were legitimate, very good, persuasive reviews that, are gone.
And you had 0 left?
No, I have, then there were left, and it's actually been 2 rounds of this happening. It happened.
Were they doing them in your office, Tina?
No, they weren't doing them in my
At their
office.
house.
No, they were legitimately separate IP address and all that. But do you think that would be a human being making that decision, or is this just a computer algorithm, some random?
Too hard to tell. I've
Yeah.
seen it both ways. I think
I mean,
a lot
have
of
you
times,
seen it? You've
I
seen
think
it.
that with the person who was doing the pattern, it was an algorithm, but
This would not have been a pattern. I don't know.
it does not sound like something I've heard.
It's pretty.
That's what happened to Mitch's reviews. He had 200, and they just.
I will tell you, this is one reason why I like doing the reviews the way we're doing them. Because they're coming back to our office in the mail or via email. We've got them in our hand, and they're our property, and we can do what we want with them. And we've never lost a review. We have probably 100 reviews on our website. Consumers look, they look at the first page, there's 20 reviews there, they click to the next page, there's another 20, they're done. They're either going to call you or they're not. They're not going to read every single review, at least the way we're set up, because they're not finding us through Google. And then what we do is, what works really well for us, you guys, and we haven't talked about this, is we always try to include a client photograph with the review. So we ask the clients, hey, send us, if I know a client races motocross, send me a picture of you hitting that triple in 3rd gear. and then I'll get the review back with a picture of them doing the jump, and we embed that picture next to the review. And I think that humanizes it, and that's what really, we got a review a couple of years ago from Tom Girardi, who some of us from California know, very well-known plaintiff's attorney, billion-dollar verdicts. His wife is on the Housewives of Beverly Hills. Okay, so we've got the review there, Tom's picture, and we have been contacted by so many people saying, oh my goodness, that's Erica's husband. They don't even know that he's a lawyer, right? But it's the little things like that that have nothing to do with the practice of law that gets attention and gets people to then start the conversation. So think about using photographs and videos.
Probably the easiest thing I've seen in terms of getting links is I reach out to all of my vendors, and let's say it's 10 or 12, all with high-ranking page ranks, the whole thing. I write a detailed review for my vendors if they deserve it. And I would say probably 9 out of 10 times they'll post it on their website with a link back to my website. So websites. So that's almost a guaranteed link from a prominent website. So for example, I use TrialWorks, I use a few other firms, and just the request alone, if you have any relationship with your vendors, they'll do it for you.
Wayne?
I have a question about video. Sorry to end this review part. But question for like Mo, for Mitch, and for Joey. I'm curious about how you can balance, let's call it the substance of the videos and projecting knowledge about a particular matter. At the same time, you're also trying to project warmth and elicit some type of warm feeling. So, Mitch, you're recording videos when you're running, you're out and about, you're doing these fun hobbies or interests. But I'm wondering, are you doing videos where you are also able to show, the attorney side of you, the aspect that's knowledgeable about a particular matter, as well as the fun-loving outside of the office attorney? And I would say to Joey too, and Mo and anybody else who feels they can chime in.
So that's a great question, and the fun-loving, videos that we're talking about usually do incorporate something about the law, whether I'm newsjacking something that's going on. One I did recently, I'm walking into the courthouse down in Santa Ana, California, and we have a big homeless problem there. We have for 20 years. There's a large homeless encampment, tents. It's really sad. And I was early for my hearing, so I just walked over, and I kind of know some of the people, and I asked them, would you guys mind if we talked a little bit about what's going on? They had just been relocated to another spot. And so we talked about that, but then I incorporated into that conversation how the judges and lawyers down at the Orange County Superior Court actually have a system set up to help these people with their family law, their drug, whatever the legal issues are, because they can't afford attorneys. So I use that as an opportunity to shine existing courts services with a big social problem. And it wasn't about me, but it was about providing legal services to help people. I'm just more comfortable doing that instead of coming back to hire me as your lawyer. There's so much stuff on our website that already says that the videos and everything else are really just kind of complimentary icing on the cake, showing our human side. So for me, people aren't going to be watching a video they may watch it to learn how to trademark, how to do a trademark, something like that. But for me, the success we've had are with the indirect legal lifestyle videos. That's just what works for us. Relationships first, and then everything else follows.
I would say too, with Mitch, with your videos, you do have some that you do that are from your office that are you smiling and lighthearted, but you're giving top tips on whatever legal issues there are. So it is legal based and not talking about maybe a social problem or you're at the beach, but you're actually at your office, but it's still a relaxed environment. It's not professionally done, but it's providing legal tips, and I think that still gets a lot of traction.
It's about 10 or 20% of the videos.
Can I borrow the mic real quick?
So the game's at 6:15, and it's only 5 minutes from here. So I'm wondering, do you guys want to keep going till 5, or should we wrap it up now? I'd like to keep going if you guys are willing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going. Al, you had a question?
I have a question. John, you had mentioned that your best return on investment was your printed newsletters. Can you talk about that?
Well, I can not only talk about it, I can show it to you.
So
So the printed newsletter and I have as many copies as people would want to see. This is, I've been doing it since 2011, and I keep questioning in my mind, is this a smart use of money? And the one thing is, newsletters really suck for the most part, unless you put your own personality and you write them yourself. That's the key, and you have to do it monthly. You do that consistently, it's like any other form of marketing. If you do it consistently over time, and you send it out to your ideal referral partners, it builds equity over time. I have lawyers contact me and say, I keep every single one of your newsletters, it's in a binder, and every so often I look at them. That is building the relationship there, but it's really, for me, it's about scaling your practice. So you want to reach out, if I've got 800, right now I have 300 referral partners, lawyers who've referred me work over time. I can't reach out to these people all the time. I can't call them or write them emails. But what I can do is write this 4-page newsletter, and I'd be happy to share anyone who's interested. I have a graphic designer, I have a fulfillment provider printer in Kansas. I can get this out in about 4 to 8 hours. So the turnaround time is very fast. But it is the best
We
thing.
talk about how you come up with topics and how you produce it and everything else. Like,
Sure.
how do you actually write it out and everything else?
Well, Will and I was speaking last night on the issue of confidentiality, and Mitch, I learned this from you. I piss off a lot of people. I piss off people because I really feel I get violently ill when I hear about confidentiality. I've never agreed to it, I never will. And frankly, it disturbs me when I hear other lawyers who are agreeing to it, because in my view, that's not serving the client and it's not serving our profession. That may piss off a lot of people, and there's a lot of people who'll be furious and curse me out, but I don't care. That's me, and you've given me permission to be who I am. So I have very strong feelings on issues like that, and I share them.
John, can I talk about that?
I think that's really an important point. I think that there are people who will like us, and there are people who won't like us. And if we're trying to make the people who won't like us happy, we're never going to make the people who like us happy. Especially in a hot topic like immigration. I just decided long ago, and this is how I really feel, so it was easy, but there are a ton of people who hate what I do. They think I'm a traitor to the white race. They think, make America great again, all that stuff. And I just said to myself, I'm going to piss them off, and the more I'm pissing them off, the better I'm doing. So I think that's really important, that you have to be able to take a stand.
Follow up on that. Let me just follow up. Do you guys know Guy Kawasaki? He was one of the original Apple evangelists. Okay, social media marketing world, last year, Guy was speaking about politics. And he's like, how many of you voted? And he's got the biggest crowd in the room. And Guy, who's, he's probably the most well-known social media influencer on the planet. I mean, big brand advocate. He goes, listen, man, and he's a Hawaiian in his Hawaiian voice, say, man, I can't take this anymore, man. I have to talk about it, right? And so a guy starts talking about on LinkedIn, he was getting 30,000 new followers a month on LinkedIn, okay? And he wanted to talk about politics. He has a certain view. And he said, his friend said, Guy, if you talk about politics, you're going to lose all your followers. So he puts up the graph showing 30,000, 30,000. He goes, this is when I started talking about politics. And the graph goes down to 0. And you can just hear the room go, right? He goes, no, man, that's not what happened. He pulls the graph up, and it's twice as many followers, right? Because people will relate to who you are as long as you're genuine, you're polite about it, to a point. And it's like, it is what it is. Real quick on the newsletter thing, I absolutely love John's newsletter. I love getting it, and I read it every month. I don't have time to do this. I don't have the talent to write the way John writes. Having said that, we go a different direction, and I just think I need to share this with you guys. We use, because we're a plaintiff personal injury firm, we use the Let America Know, You Should Know newsletter. It's a pre-printed, professionally written newsletter that goes out once a month. It's set it and forget it. I don't put any time into it. It goes out to several thousand people on that email mailing list each month. And it's a great newsletter. It's endorsed by the AAJ, it's endorsed by the ABA. It's very well written. So for me, although it's not personalized, and I wish it was, but it's not, it is another way for me to drip on several thousand people a month and share good consumer-oriented content. And honestly, I spend 5 minutes a year on it. I mean, that's how powerful this thing is, and it's $50 a month.
It's branded as Jackson and Wilson.
and it's branded to our law firm, where we've got our picture, we've got some description and some language and links on there. It looks like it's coming from us, okay, but it's more generic, but it works for us.
And I just want to share something. I was mentioning this to Don McClure over here, that he started doing a print newsletter where he shares the story of how he met his wife, and they sat down and had a meal of pozole, which is a pig's ear, which is apparently some Mexican delicacy.
Yes.
And so I'll tell you something,
And
I
it's-
read that whole thing.
And it's in Mexican, it's in Spanish and English.
It's Spanish and English, and it's got pictures. Every newsletter I have has pictures of my family. I don't know if this is working. Family, so there's personal tidbits about my family, what I'm doing with my son for different fundraisers. But I think that you have to bring your personality into it as well.
Well, how do you do it then? I mean, you was saying like the details, like who's your graphic person and how do you write, how do you come up with the topics and
Call.
like. No, I mean, I think Tyson asked you. I was interested in his question, right?
Right. So I don't know if I answered that directly, but like for
Oh.
example, the issue of confidentiality is a very big issue right now with the Bill Cosby sexual harassment and the Michigan State doctor. And confidentiality is something that drives me crazy, so I just wrote about it.
Oh, okay.
And Mike Campbell asked me to write about it as well. So generally, I mean, we all have thoughts, questions that come up all the time, and they just come in and out of our minds. But if we sit down and document them and just start writing, that's where I go with it.
All of the engagement that you guys do on social media, you can literally take the same, like the photo and the captions and put it into print. So you just regurgitate the same information. Like our print newsletters are really just a month's accumulation of the stuff that we're already talking about on social media, or talking about, like, you know, if there's an interesting article that went up on our website, we just put it in the newsletter too. So you're not really creating any extra work for yourself. You just send all the stuff to the graphics guy and he'll lay it out, and then they print it.
Everyone here should see Boyk Law Firm's Injury Times. It is absolutely amazing. It's a magazine where they highlight the stories of the most seriously injured clients that they have. It is so impressive, and I wish we had one for everyone here. Or maybe we can send a PDF.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can circulate a
Perfect.
circulate PDF version with it.
So I just wanted to make an observation and then a question. There are very, very different types of people up here. And like Mitch said, there's different ways to skin a cat. So I work with a lot of creative small business owners who love the craft that they do. And they don't really like marketing, they don't really like sales, they love doing the work. And I think that there are people who end up running a business who love the operational side, but they don't really like the marketing, but they feel like they need to do it. And then there are people who, once they start the business, they want to kind of delegate all the operational stuff, and they really either like the heavy marketing side or kind of like the human branding side. And so can you guys just kind of go through and say, like, in your ideal world, owning your law firm, would you spend more time on operations, marketing, or like the human branding?
What do you mean by human branding?
Like the video, you know, here's me doing, you know, Mo show and me thing versus, you know, here's me getting really deep into SEO and writing blog content and kind of like being recognized by people searching me and finding me versus me going out and starting the conversation with them.
That's interesting. I'll be honest with you. I love all of it. I really
Yeah.
do. I think I'm sort of weird that way. I think if I were going to dump anything in order, it'd probably be the operational side of it. I love the strategy side of it, which includes the firm strategy, but I also love the trial strategy of it. So like, there's things I don't want to give up, but the way that we're positioning my firm, where I will be the strategy guy, but I will also be trying cases. And so in a perfect world, that's all I will be doing. I'm big picture and I'm trying cases. Because the way our firm's mission, if you want to see it, we want to try 250 cases in the next 10 years. That's a lot of freaking cases, right? So, and the way we're going to start doing it is trying them in teams. Usually people try them. You're the trial attorney on this case. You're the trial attorney on this case. We're no longer doing that. We're scrapping that and we're trying cases in teams. And we've seen good results of that, doing it that way. Because if you think about it, if you break down, this is getting a little off topic, but this is the reasoning. Think about when you go into a trial. Who's tried a jury case? Jury. Okay, most of you, right? And when you go into a trial, you've got all of this in your mind, right? You've got jury selection, I've got an opening statement, I've got my direct examinations of all my witnesses, and I've got doctor's witnesses, and or I've got a depo that I've got to play, and then you've got cross-examinations, and you've got the closing, and then you've got rebuttal. When you break it into teams, you have cut all of that work in half, right? It just takes all of the stress off, and so when we get in front of a jury now, we are comfortable, we're more prepared, and so we're getting better results. So, all that being said, I like doing the strategy. That's what I want to do. I enjoy doing most of everything operational, just a little bit less. And then I like trying cases. So
That was a really long answer.
Yes,
That's
it was.
mine.
My answer is, so I became a trial lawyer because I like to try cases. I wish that's all I had to do, but you know, it's a business, right? It's a practice. So I didn't become an accountant because I'm not good with numbers. This is not my strong point. Today, sitting here, if I could just try cases, that would be awesome. I love it. It's like Friday Night Football, Mo, back in the day. I think it's all about relationships and creating an exemplary client experience. Everything we do, if I'm not trying cases, I'm building relationships, and I'm creating great client experiences. However we do that, marketing, branding, one-on-one, meetings, whatever it might be, for me, it's those three areas: trying cases, relationships, and experiences.
I would say figuring out what you like to do and making that your primary focus. We're talking at lunch today, if I said to Mitch, do you want to blog? And he's like, no, I don't really want to blog, I want to do videos. If you do what you like, I like doing search and digital. I do it, I'm passionate about it, I do more of it, and if you can figure out a way to either delegate, partner, or buy the pieces that you're not great at, for me it's numbers, making sure you have an accounting team in place. If you're able to find an adequate substitute for what you don't like to do, focus on what you do, it makes getting up in the morning a lot better, and frankly the results are a lot better in my opinion.
I'd like to spend all my time in the